William Shakespeare was a famous English poet and playwright. He is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language. He wrote 38 plays and 154 sonnets. William Shakespeare was born in the charming town of Stratford-upon-Avon on the 23rd of April 1564. His father, William, was a successful local businessman, and his mother, Mary, came from a landowning family. They were reasonably well off, which likely helped pay for William's education, although we don't have proof he went to university. In 1582, when William was just 18, he married an older woman named Anne Hathaway. They had 3 children, Susanna, Hamnet, and Juliet. Unfortunately, their only son, Hamnet, passed away at the young age of 11. After getting married, we don't know much about Shakespeare's life, but it seems he mostly lived in London, where he wrote and acted in his famous plays. Because of some smart investments, Shakespeare had a strong financial base, which allowed him to focus on writing and acting. One of his best investments was buying some land near Stratford in 1605, which soon became worth twice as much. It seemed that Shakespeare didn't mind staying away from his family much. He usually came back home during Lent when theatres were closed. In the 1590s, he wrote most of his sonnets. During this time, he wrote a lot and his plays became quite popular and sometimes caused a bit of controversy. His early plays were mostly funny ones, like Much Ado About Nothing and A Midsummer Night's Dream, and also some historical ones, like Henry V. In the early 17th century, Shakespeare started writing tragic plays. These plays, like Hamlet, Othello, and King Lear, often revolve around the main character's big mistakes or weaknesses, showing us the darker sides of human nature. Many people believe that these later plays are Shakespeare's best work. When introducing Shakespeare's first folio of published plays in 1623, Ben Jonson said, "Shakespeare's writings are not limited to a particular time, they are timeless and will always be relevant." William Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets, mainly in the 1590s. These short poems talk about things like love that didn't last. People still enjoy his sonnets because he was really good with words. Shakespeare's plays have been studied more than any other writings in the English language and have been translated into many languages. He was unique as a playwright because he was exceptionally good at creating tragedies, comedies, and historical dramas. He blended popular entertainment with a remarkable talent for poetry, which almost feels like a captivating chant. During his lifetime, Shakespeare had his fair share of controversies, but he also received heaps of praise for his immensely popular and financially successful plays. His plays have continued to be loved by people all over the world throughout history. Some of his most famous plays include Twelfth Night, Henry V, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear, Othello. In 1616, William Shakespeare passed away, but the exact cause of his death remains a bit of a mystery with different ideas about it. John Ward, the local vicar of Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, where Shakespeare is buried, wrote in his diary, "Shakespeare, Drayton, and Ben Jonson had a joyful get-together and it seems they had a bit too much to drink, leading to Shakespeare falling ill and eventually passing away due to a fever he caught there. During that same year, 1616, there was a typhus outbreak known as the New Fever, which might have been the reason." In the 16th century, people in London, on average, lived to about 35 years old. Surprisingly, Shakespeare lived until the age of 52. Some scholars, known as the Oxfords, believe that Shakespeare might not have actually written his plays. They suggest that Shakespeare was more of a successful businessman than a writer and propose names like Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, and Francis Bacon as potential authors. The idea that the Earl of Oxford might have been the real Shakespeare is based on indirect evidence, including similarities in their writing and life experiences. But we don't have any strong evidence linking the Earl of Oxford to the theatre or writing plays. On the other hand, we do have proof that William Shakespeare worked in theatres, and he even received criticism from people like Ben Jonson and Robert Greene. Also, the Earl of Oxford passed away in 1604, and it's commonly agreed upon that 12 plays were published after that year. It's really hard to believe that the proud Earl of Oxford, who even got into trouble for harming one of his own servants, would write such incredible scripts and then be okay with staying unknown. Plus, to keep it a secret, many family members and theatre folks would have to keep quiet about it. The idea of other people being the real authors of Shakespeare's works only came up centuries after the first folio was published. In the story of his life, William Shakespeare's journey showcases the remarkable power of creativity and writing. He started from very little and went on to become one of the most famous playwrights and poets in the English language. His writings, filled with human emotions and experiences, still fascinate people all over the world, no matter where or when they live. Although we don't know everything about his life, his lasting legacy as a great writer and someone who understood what it means to be human reminds us of the timeless beauty of his work.